All right, welcome everyone, and good afternoon. We have got our next Copilot available for you this afternoon, so thank you for joining us. This particular workshop is all about Copilot agents in action. So we are going to just wait for a few more people to jump on board and join the meeting. So feel free to settle in, grab a water, or maybe perhaps you're having lunch. So we'll be kicking off officially in just a couple of minutes. So my name is Sarah Wheaton. You've probably seen me before if you've been following us all year on our Copilot webinars, and I'm an account manager here at KMT. So very excited for this next session today. So feel free to grab a notepad, or perhaps you might even want to be following along as we go. So you might have your own workstation open and ready to try some really exciting things around Copilot agents. So feel free to think about any questions that you might have along the way too. We'll be always able to ask our presenter those questions as we go. So yeah, you can see a few more people have jumped on board. Always popular, our Copilot workshops. And I know that we've got some keen followers that have attended all of them this year, which is fantastic. So we'll have some new Copilot experts amongst us. You'll see the chat button up the top. So if you have any early questions, if you're having difficulty with hearing us or anything like that, feel free to pop them in the chat. I think everyone must be okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay, because that's always a good sign. Great, thank you. So audio is working. All right, we are just going to start in 1 more minute. So just to let you know, the next workshop is just about to kick off. So we've got people flowing in at a steady pace. We'll just give everyone 1 more minute of an opportunity to jump online. All right. So just again, my name is Sarah Wheaton. You've probably seen me before. I'm usually heading up there emceeing these kinds of webinars. So I'm an account manager here at KMT. And I know that our audience is often a mix of KMT clients and those that are not. So we welcome you all broadly. All right, it is time to officially kick off. So thank you for joining us and good afternoon. Welcome to our exclusive session on Copilot agents in action. So today we're going to go step-by-step guide to show you how to automate your workflow. We're thrilled to have you join us today, and over the next hour, you'll discover how Copilot agents can transform the way that you work, boosting hopefully your productivity while keeping your organization secure and compliant. Okay, now, as always, we love an interactive session, so feel free and please do pop any questions that you may have into the Q&A at the top of the bar there in your Teams window. We may actually just feed those questions through to our presenter if we find that it's pertinent to the discussion that's going on at the time. And these questions that you have are usually quite meaningful and help everybody that is online get greater understanding. So feel free to do that. I'll be monitoring that throughout the session. Some of the questions, if I think are better held to the end, I might do that too, but please go ahead and add your questions in. Now, I wanted to introduce you to Daniel. So Daniel is our guest speaker today, and he is a seasoned technology consultant with over 15 years of experience in AI and automation. He's helped countless businesses integrate cutting-edge tech to achieve their goals, and he's known for his dynamic presentation style and passion for innovation. So he's the perfect guide for today's workshop. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Daniel. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. I will have to steal that intro because that was very well done. I don't know who wrote that, but I didn't write that. So thank you very much for the intro. First of all, thanks everybody for jumping on and taking an hour out of your day. Hopefully this session is going to be really eye-opening for you. There's going to be a lot of live demos as we go through. I do have a few slides, and you will see the number of 27 there. Don't worry, I will be flying through those. You're not going to be bored with slides. But first of all, I need to see some thumbs up to make sure that I'm going to ask the obligatory thing, can you see my screen? thumbs up, please. Plus, it makes me feel good
Yeah.
because I can see everything. And there's always at least one person that uses raise hands. Now, Melissa, I'm going to call you out because you've done it. There's always somebody that raises their hand and not uses the thumbs up. But thank you very much. That looks amazing from my end. So let's kick things off. Now, first of all, you guys that have chosen to turn up here really are literally leading the way in the way AI is going to be implemented in your organization. Trust me, you are extremely early. I've worked with a lot of large scale, small scale, medium sized businesses, and a lot of people are just sort of dipping their toes in, trying to understand where it all fits in. So everybody, including you, has a role to play across your organization in the way that AI is implemented and rolled out. Everyone from the exec sponsor side through to functional leaders, through to business leaders, team leaders, and then to all of us as individual contributors as well. Everybody has a role to play in that user enablement. Now, what we're talking about today and the topic of today is all around agents, so Copilot agents specifically. Now, agents are all about giving the organization literally new digital colleagues. So if we've used Copilot before, and this is a question for you in the audience, who has a Copilot license inside of your organization? Or are we just using Copilot as in the chat interface? All right, so we've got some thumbs up. Excellent. So what we're going to have a look at here is everything around the paid M365 Copilot add-on. So when we're using Copilot chat, that's like giving everybody a little personal and smart assistant, whereas agents are a little bit different. They're about giving organizations as a whole, but you also and teams, new digital colleagues, literally. So these are pretty good though, because they never forget, they never argue, they never answer back, they never cut corners, but they always deliver a really good standard and same consistent output over and over again. And that's a good thing to remember when we're starting to think about where to start with agents, is those repeatable types of processes and tasks. Now, there's a few things why I think it matters right now. As I mentioned before, there's a lot that are starting to experiment with Copilot, but are struggling to move it out of that experimental stage and then to scale the potential of where we can go. Now, agents really can help you provide structure and repeatability around this as well. And it is all around the transition and the moving of individual productivity all the way through to organizational intelligence. Now, there's a lot of other types of AI, and I'm sure everybody here has heard of ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini 3.0, I will say is amazing. But we're talking about Copilot, but similar types of things people are starting to use. Now, Copilot's a little bit different though, which we'll see. Now, just onto a few topics that we're going to cover. We're going to just talk through and walk through what Copilot agents are, the different spectrum or the broad spectrum of agents, and then we're going to dive into a lot of demos and scenarios and examples of what agents can do. And then if we've got time, depending on questions and things, we'll actually build one live at the end. Now, agents, as I've already mentioned, are your AI-powered digital colleagues that really do carry out your repeatable tasks. And it's different from your Copilot chat, which helps you as an individual with on-demand types of activities. And there is that clear distinction, okay? If you're doing a prompt and you're saving your prompts or you're doing something over and over again, that's a really good and a clear indicator and a candidate for an agent. Now, every single agent has what I call an anatomy. Now, where Copilot is grounded in all of your data, so your emails, your Teams chats, your SharePoint sites. Now, we love SharePoint, don't we? Everybody loves SharePoint in the audience. If you don't, then we are stopping right now.
Two people love it. No, there's
okay, very good. I got some applause as well. So SharePoint is going to be is one of the fundamental building blocks to building some good agents. So we have what we call grounding data. So we create these agents and we actually ground these agents in specific sets of content. Traditionally, or more often than not, it's going to be around SharePoint and Teams and OneDrive. But potentially, there is the potential there to look at other CRMs. So Salesforce and Dynamics and HubSpot and lots of other CRMs that we could potentially integrate in with. Now, we give them instructions and rules and really the brains of how we want them to behave. We then can have some more advanced things like triggers and actions, which we'll take a look at. Now, from a spectrum, we've got simple on the left, more retrieval-based types of agents. We've got agents that can create, that can do tasks, that can automate workflows and replace those repetitive things. And then we've got the more advanced ones, which are more autonomous, that can operate independently and also call on other agents as well. Now, what we're seeing, and what I'm specifically seeing in a lot of organizations, especially in Australia, is that each person is going to become literally a manager. Not a manager of like humans like us, but managers of agents. I work and speak closely with the product manager of the Copilot extensibility team. Now, he himself in his role, just for him, has 45 agents himself, just for him to take care of the tasks and things that he does in his role. Okay. So we are really evolving quickly from AI as a single tool to managing a lot of different types of things. Okay. So right now we're looking at more human powered types of workflows, but in the future, agents are going to be taking the lead where we will be overseeing and guiding the work that they do. Now, before we jump into the demos, I always get asked about, where do we start? How do we start to implement agents? And I've got this little 3-step framework that I think is really good for people to start to follow. Now, what we want to try and do is we want to map out a workflow that you've got from start to finish. So things like meeting preps or document approvals, report generation, and we want to break those into discrete steps. Not just the overall task, but the steps involved in that task. So pulling data from SharePoint, drafting the findings, formatting for a particular audience. They're the individual steps where agents can potentially get augmented into that entire process. So we want to classify each step though. So which ones can we give to Copilot right now? And they're the easy ones. So the things like data extraction, repetitive formatting, data analysis, all of those things that we can give to Copilot straight away. We've then got ones where Copilot helps us. So more like you're drafting, and then we can be that human in the loop, which I'm sure you've heard that term before, and then we can check that. And then, yes, we still have a job and we still have a role because humans are still very, very important. We need to make those strategic decisions, use your knowledge, and understand that sensitive type of area as well. So all is not lost for your job, trust me. But the last step is we start small and then we expand on that, right? So we don't want to boil the ocean. We don't want to try and Copilot enable everything and throw Copilot as the silver bullet. Let's start small, and then you can see the return on investment on that, and then you can expand. Okay. Small little tips. Anything you're doing more than twice, great candidate for an agent. We want to target those high friction, low satisfaction work things that we do. We want to go where the data already lives. We want to start in one role, one department, and then we want to scale out from there. All right. So that being said, I'm done talking to slides. I will stop sharing this presentation and I am going to start sharing my screen. Perfect. Now, can we see my screen? Thumbs up, please. We should see the Copilot chat interface here. Excellent. That is what I want to see. And I wish I could take some photos because I need to see all those thumbs up. Now, all right, what we're going to do first is we're going to first go through and have a look at a few different types of scenarios for agents. Now, this user interface here, I'm sure we're all familiar with it. There was lots of thumbs up. We've been using Copilot. So we've got this, what looks like a search box. That's our Copilot chat. Now, a really good indicator as to whether you've got a license or not is this little toggle switch up the top. So we can switch between work and web. Okay, if you do have this, then you do have a license. If you don't have that, then you don't have a license. So left-hand side, you might see a few things here in this user interface that isn't in yours, like things like this Frontier program. There's some brand new agents that are coming that are amazing, that are going to help you as well. You will have this section here called agents, and you'll notice that I've got a number of agents that are listed here. These are all, well, except for the top two, they're from Microsoft, right? So we've got a researcher agent and we've got an analyst agent. They're out of the box. They come with your license. They come with Microsoft. They're a little bit different. They do use what we call some deep reasoning and deep thinking. Now, the first agent we're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at a more complex one to start with, just to give you an idea of what we can do. So when we click on an agent that's been created, with an agent basically has its own homepage, right? So it's got its own chat box here. This little plus button gives us the ability to add content to this agent. I spoke about the anatomy of an agent before. We're going to come back to that, but I will give, and I'll jump in and we can have a quick little look at this particular agent that I call the red pen. Every agent has an icon. It has a name. It has a description. You can see the description is on the right-hand side here. The core things here and the really important things here are the instructions that we give the agent. And we also give our agent knowledge. So we ground our agent in some information. Okay, now this agent, I've given this agent one document. Now this document is living in SharePoint. We love SharePoint. It's living in a document library. So that means that if I change this compliance manual, then I don't need to change this agent. So this agent's literally being, let's say, trained on the information that I give it explicitly. We'll come back to the instructions. Let's see this in action. So what this is going to do, and if anybody's in the financial space or is a financial advisor, this one's for you, but the scenario can be used across lots of different industries. Now, financial advisors write what they call statements of advices, but they have to be compliant. Now, the compliance manual is like 250 pages long. Nobody wants to read a compliance manual of that length, right? And check a document against that. So what we can do with this agent, and it's been written this way, is I can use my /, right? Because I've got a paid license, I can use /, and then I've got access to people, files, meetings, emails, chats, lots of different things across M365. So I'm going to give this agent a statement of advice. Now, I want this to do a check. Now, this was the task of a financial advisor to do this before this was approved and sent out. This would take hours. Multiply that by 100 clients, and that's a long process. Now, this agent literally does this in 10 seconds, right? It's got an exec summary. It's got a compliance checklist, because what we've written in the back in the instructions is a 15-point checklist that every statement of advice goes through, and it checks it against the compliance manual. I've got the evidence, and I've also got a remediation plan. Now, when we're working with agents or even in just general chat, we want to get into the habit of having conversations and not just being transactional, giving one prompt, getting a response. That's more search mentality. When we're talking with AI, we want to have that conversation. So I don't know how to write a risk profile. So I've got my response here. I'm going to say, can you help me please write the risk profile, because I am new and I do not know how to. So what this agent will do is going to check the compliance manual again, see how to write a risk profile to make it compliant. And based on that, here's the suggested risk profile wording, which is a compliant section. It's taken the context of the SOA, because I gave it the SOA up here, Amanda's SOA. So it's taken all the information from that, and it has written that compliance section that I can then take and use in that document. And I could systematically go through that and make my document compliant. Nice and quick, nice and easy. And this agent does that for us. All right. So that's a really good example of a process and a task as part of that process. Okay. And we're iterating on that. Now, the next one might be, I'm going to use this as an example. So this is what we call, well, what I call the decision matrix. Now, again, just think of the scenario here, right? Now, the scenario here is some documents, and I want to compare these documents against a ranking. Now, in the scenario here, we're going to use proposals, right? So this is going to go through a decision matrix on and compare proposals. It could be RFPs, it could be responses, it could be lots of different things. So I'm going to evaluate these proposals for scope, methodology, and pricing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop 3 proposals, PDFs, okay, into the agent, and I'm going to give that to the agent to do this first task for me. It's going to give me a comparison table based on what I've asked it to do. It's going to give key differences, decisions, and a support summary. But here's my ranking scores. So in the instructions, I've given this agent some ranking and some weights to consider for every single proposal that it refers to or it reviews. And then it gives me an overall score. Now, I would still need to make some human judgment over this as well, because I would probably know this type of thing. But that task of this process is now handled by an agent. Okay. Now, the great thing about agents as well, even in Copilot chat, is that we can take this out of this chat interface, because it's just on a literally like a web page in a chat interface. But we can take this out into what we call a Copilot page. Now, that now changes things. So this has now been taken out into a collaborative canvas, right? Now, I can now interact with this collaborative page. So if we've used ChatGPT or Claude, you've got this concept of a canvas. Same thing here. Copilot's got this collaborative canvas, and I can then start to say, right, I might want to add a task list in here. I might want to assign some tasks for people based on this content. I can then share this with other people in my company. I can share the component. I can share the page link in an email, in a Teams chat. And that then becomes a collaborative artifact. But I can also create a document, or what we can do now is create a PowerPoint presentation. So if I want to create a document from this, I am going to say create document and go open in Word. Okay, and now that has taken that from that canvas, from a chat, from a Loop page, now to a Word document, and to another type of artifact. Now, granted, it's just a basic document; it's not branded or anything like that, but it's taken it out into that document. Okay, so we've now moved through that process. One more, and then we're going to go into a multi-agent type of scenario. Now, who likes Seinfeld? Nobody. Well, this is not going to go well, is it? Okay, so this is Elaine, right? You might see I've got Elaine, I've got the soup Nazi, I've got George and Jerry are floating around somewhere as well. Now, this is Elaine. Now, what Elaine's role is, and her job, is to take some input and to create a structured output that's called a file note. Generally, meeting minutes and transcripts or handwritten notes or whatever, when you're in a meeting, a lot of companies want a structured output from that meeting. So this is what she does. Hey, just had a meeting with let's say George, hey, here is the transcript. Now, the great thing about if you've got a license of M365 is that I don't need to download a transcript. If you're transcribing your meetings, then I can hit the / I can go to meetings, and then I can select a meeting from this section here. And if it's been transcribed, I just need to point to the meeting and Copilot will access the transcript automatically. Now, this particular time, I didn't, right? So I am going to say I downloaded it and it's here somewhere. There it is. There's the meeting transcript. Here is the transcript. Can you generate a file note, please? So this is going to create an artifact for me. Then what a lot of organizations do is they take this artifact, they might store it in a CRM. It could be Dynamics, you're tracking things and you're keeping everything like that. Now, sometimes Elaine's a little bit slow. So she's analyzing a few things. It might take a little bit. All right. So what we might do is we're going to come back to Elaine. All right. So I'm going to just open up another tab and we'll jump into, oh no, she's very quick today. Okay, here it is. So here's the file note. Here's the output. It's very structured. It's repeatable. This is the structure that happens every single time. So I've got the file note. I've got my meeting details. And if you see here, Jerry's the advisor, George is the client. I'm not sure much advice is going on there, but that is how it is. We've got the advice context. We've got a summary. We've got the situation. We've got discussion points, recommendations, actions, decisions. And look, we've even got a Word document that this agent has created, as well as being on the canvas. I'm going to open that up in a Word doc. I can then use that, store that, upload it to SharePoint, put it in my client folder, do whatever I need to do. And then I've got that artifact and that thing based on that meeting. And it's structured every single time. Now, the good thing about providing structure around your docs and getting into SharePoint is that we can use Copilot and synthesize it and find that information from a Copilot chat or from other agents. Now, let's now move into a little bit of a different scenario. So because we love SharePoint, I'm going to jump into the SharePoint site. It's called the Westgate Redevelopment Project. And if you haven't seen this new look and feel, this is a new document library experience that you will get with SharePoint soon, if not already in your tenant. Looks a lot different than what you're probably used to. Now, this is how our project sites are set up, right? Templated, rolled out, consistent. We've got our libraries on the left, everything like that. But as a project person working on this project, I don't really want to have to go into these document libraries and try and find things all the time. So you'll notice on the left-hand side here, I've got a number of different project-related agents. I could go into each one of these one by one and select each one and then ask some prompts. But what we can do with agents is we can be in a Copilot chat like you normally would be, and we can bring agents in. Now, what we want to try and think about is our agents as being subject matter experts. They're responsible and they're really good at a particular thing. We don't want to try and overload these agents. That's when you might get some hallucinations and some weird things starting to happen. So what we can do is we can use the @ symbol, and I might say, let's @ and bring in the first person that I want to help me with this outcome. I want the project summary agent to do something for me. So I want to summarize this week's construction progress from the site reports library in that site. This agent's grounded in that site, and that's going to do its task for me, its role, and that's what it's responsible for. Now, I'm building up and I need to send out some client comms and also prepare for a board meeting about this project. So I've got my summary. Now I'm going to leave that agent. I'm going to kick that agent out. And this time I'm going to bring in the compliance agent. Again, responsible for a specific thing, grounded and knowledgeable in the compliance aspect. So this is going to give me my expired docs. It's going to give me a summary of where we're at from a compliance issue. Now, this is reading directly from this metadata. Now, a lot of us love SharePoint. Do a lot of us love metadata, or are we still folder, 50 levels deep? Metadata, good. It's becoming more and more important as we use AI and especially Copilot. Now, we've got our expired docs, we've got our missing pending approvals, due for renewal, risks, everything like that. Thanks, Compliance Copilot. I'm now going to bring in the Permits and Approvals Copilot. Again, specific for a task. That is going to then create that for me. Now, every agent that comes into this conversation has the context of everybody else. So it knows what's happening. So now I'm pretty good with where I'm at. I'm now ready to generate and create some client communication that I want to approve to send out to the client. So I want to draft a client update summarizing everything that we've just done. So every agent...
Can I jump in here? Sorry, Danny.
Yes,
I've got a good question that I think if you can cover off in this particular discussion.
Yep.
It's from Andrew. So he's actually asking, can an agent create output from multiple sources, including SharePoint, but also non-Microsoft products like Slack channels to automatically
create output? Yes, you can, but not in. So what we're in here is what's called Copilot Studio Lite. When you're in Copilot Studio Full Edition, then yes, you can add tools and they can connect to Slack and they can connect to SharePoint.
There you go.
Which we will. I'll jump into Copilot Studio after this one, and then we can have a look at those things as well.
I've got one more, just because I've got your pause, but I know that you're on a flow. But there's so many questions coming in.
I thought there might be.
Some I'm holding, but this one's also about now. So how do you make? This one is about. Can you elaborate on the advantage? And I think this is pertinent to now because you're showing it. Elaborate on the advantage of having multiple agents as opposed to just general chat.
Yeah. So with general chat, if you're just using general Copilot chat, that's obviously not obviously, but that is grounded in, that has access to everything in what's called the Microsoft Graph in your tenant. So if I put a chat in and said, give me an update on the Westgate construction project, that would get information. If I just put that prompt in, that will get information from anything that I've spoken about it in Teams, in emails, in files, in lots of different sources. Now, agents, we can be really specific in the information that we give the agent. The reason we want to try and create these as small subject matter experts is that when you try and get them to do too much, that's when they can get a little bit confused sometimes, and the responses that we get back sometimes can be a little bit different.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that addresses your questions so far. I've got a couple that I'll ask you at the end. Thanks, Daniel, for letting me interrupt
no worries.
you.
Now, the last one that we're going to have a look at here is, because the end result here is I want to create and prepare myself for an exec meeting. So the tone and style of this type of output is going to be a little bit different. So now I've brought my executive dashboard Copilot in, and that's going to create a different type of comms and prepare me so I can go into a meeting. I've got all my right thing, all the correct information, and then I'm ready to go to present with that. So it's a summary, again, of the context of where we're at. So from a Copilot interface, we can have one chat, one context, bring multiple different agents into that process. Now, you might create agents that are things that are generic, that are used in lots of different scenarios and lots of different projects, like things like a brand voice type of agent where it's grounded in your company's tone, style, voice, acronyms, those types of things. And when you're writing communication, you bring that agent in to check what you're doing to make sure that it aligns with the brand's tone and style as well. So think of agents as that type of cross collaborative type of agents as well. Now, I do want to just, before we go in to Copilot Studio, what I want to also show you is that these agents, you can use these agents inside of documents yourself as well. So let's say you've got your branded docs, you've got your H1s, your H2s, your letterheads, your headers, your footers, everything all branded. You've got your little Copilot icon in the ribbon up here. Now I can talk to my agent in here as well. So I've got this agent that's called the Proposal and Scoping Creator. So I can say, can we start a new proposal? Here are the notes. Go. So I can then chat and work alongside my agent in Word. I don't want to, I've got this one asking me questions. Just write it. I don't want to answer any questions. I just want it to write this proposal or the first draft. So it's going to write the exec summary, overview, etc., based on my meeting transcript, my sales call. But this could be lots of different bits of information here that you've got about this client that you've gathered, and now we're ready to actually write a proposal. Now, how I would generally, and this is just me, I would do this step by step and section by section. But what I've done here is I've written the whole thing out. Okay, so this is based on a template. I can go hit this plus button. It's going to add that to the Word document on the left-hand side here. Now, if this was branded and I've got my header and footer, got my styles, that would be all formatted nicely for me. Now, what we might want to do, because I like tables, is there's some things that we can do on the canvas here. So I might say, all right, select this. I want to turn this into a table. So let's visualize that as a table. So I've selected these bullet points, a little bit boring. Let's pop it into a table. So Copilot will then structure this into a table. So there's lots of different integration points and interactions with Copilot alongside with your agent, as well as on the canvas in the Copilot chat type of scenario. So now let's take things a little bit of a step further, shall we? So we're going to go into Copilot Studio, and we're going to have a look at an example of what we call an autonomous agent. I'm going to open up this agent here. Now, you'll notice that this is a lot different. So we've got a lot of different things here. Now, if I go back to Copilot Chat, I've got this option here to also create a new agent. So I can create a new agent here, and I've got, I guess, a lighter version because this is Copilot Studio Lite. But anybody can do this. Anybody can create that if you've got a license. Well, you can actually, even if you don't have a license, you can still create it. It's just a lot less of functionality. Now, you'll notice here that I've actually got the ability with Copilot Studio to change my models. Have we heard of Claude before? If we haven't, it's like OpenAI, ChatGPT. I use Claude a lot. There's Perplexity, there's Claude, there's those types of things. But you can change your model in here as well, your LLM model. So I can go from up to ChatGPT 5 with reasoning to auto and just a normal chat. Now, we still have instructions. So if I go back to this scenario here, so we still have our model, we've got our instructions, and we've got our knowledge where we can add our knowledge. Actually, I'm going to jump back to the other agent because I want to look at this. So let me just edit this here. So what we've got is we've got also the ability to have tools, and we've also got the ability to have triggers. So when we're talking about autonomous agents, we need a trigger for this agent to wake up. Now, in this scenario here, this trigger is when an email arrives. So when an email arrives in an inbox, then this agent's going to wake up and do something. All right. Now, I'll flip back to this one because it's already set up. So this one here, you can see with the instructions, what I'm saying is you're an agent that assists with the product customer service team. Its process is to do this: pass the body of the email, search the internal knowledge source, which is these documents here that I've added as knowledge. Now you'll see that here with our knowledge, we can add lots of different things in here. Pass the body of the email, understand what the customer's asking, and then search the internal knowledge to formulate a response. Now think of web forms on your website, customer, inquiries, those types of things. This is really good for. Then we're going to use the send an email tool because we've got access to tools down here. Now, when I click on add a tool from the previous question, I'm not sure who asked this, this is where we could integrate with Slack, post a Teams chat, post a Slack message, create a file in SharePoint, do something as an output of this agent. You'll notice that there, if I click all, I'm not going to go through all of them. You can see this little tiny scroll bar on the right-hand side. There is a chickabillion different tools if you're using these services that are just there out of the box for you. Okay?
Yeah, great.
Now, this tool is just using send an email. Right? Now, it's looking at an inbox, but it's also filtering out an email specifically for this title. So when I send an email to that inbox with that subject, then this agent is going to wake up. Now, that agent is going to wake up, and that agent is going to reply with an email like this. So Frankie is the person that sent the email. I was the one that I didn't. The agent responded, and this is the email response that came back. It searched, it found 2 products that are related to superannuation. It gave me the key features, the risks, who it's suited for, and also added a footer in here with a link to my bookings calendar. So the customer can then straight away click, book a meeting with me. And that end-to-end process was done without any interaction whatsoever. Okay. I wanted to show you the end result first, just in case this live demo doesn't work, right? So let's try and do this live. So I'm going to take Frankie and I'm going to bring his email inbox across here. So I am going to send a new email to me. I'm going to call it this. I want to find out more about your superannuation products. Now, if you think of your website, you would program this. If you've got a form on your website, you'd program the subject line to be just that by default. So I'm going to send that. Okay. Now, if I look at this and I go down to my trigger, I can test this. So let's have a look. That is perfect. That's an email. Well, it did come through. It's the same email. It came through this morning, right? So let's cancel this because let's just go and say, let's try this again. Let's refresh. There's that one that just came in. So I'm going to test it against that email that just came in. So what we'll see on the right-hand side here, now I'm in the testing pane here. What you'll see on the right-hand side is the thought process that this agent is going through. The user's provided an email. According to the instructions, I need to do this. It's passed the email. It's searching for the product information from its knowledge source. Okay. I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.5 for this, all right, because of a few different things. But you could use different models. Come on. Good. It's got it. It's got the two products. Now, one of the products, it didn't say, see how it says the third was left because it doesn't relate to a superannuation. It relates to a managed fund, which is a good thing. It's done that. Now it's going to compose the email with nice welcome. So I'm seeing what that process is. Now I am in the testing pane, but it's a really good thing to understand. So here I've got the email. Now where's Frankie? I've just heard the ding come in. Here's the email that literally just came in. I've got a nice welcome email. I've got my products. I've got the two products, and then I've got a footer. Now I did change that other email that I had before. Was a previous example. So I've changed the template here, but you can see that I've still got a footer here, got all the information, click, done, bang, book a time with a consultant, and I'm good to go. All right. So that's literally an end-to-end solution without touching anything. Now, yes, you would probably want to maybe have a draft email before you send it out. Now, one of those tools, though, is rather than send an email, you might want to draft an email.
Mm.
So there is a tool that you can draft an email, and it just sits in your drafts. And then, I don't know, at a regular time, you just go through your drafts and go, yep, send. And then they're all sent. But that first task is literally been done for you. Okay. Now, how are we looking for time? We pretty good. All right. Let's see if we can build an agent in 4 minutes.
Yeah, this is a good one because Liseth is asking about this. How do you make a specific agent specialized in one particular aspect? For example, being a subject matter expert. So
what we're going to do is we're going to create an executive summary drafter, an executive summary writer. So I'm in the Copilot chat. Now, all I've done, I've clicked on new agent. So let's call this exec summary draft king. All right. Actually, no, we will. We'll leave it as that. Okay. So what we've got here is we've got our start of our agent. Now we need to give it a description. So we give it a description, and we need to give it some instructions. So there's it. And you can see it building live on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to cheat because I've got some instructions here. But a good thing and a good little tip is that you can actually use Copilot to write your instructions for you. So if you go into Copilot chat, right, and you type into chat, you go, I am creating Copilot agent about blah. And you would be explicit here. Can you write the instructions? So you would explain to Copilot what you're creating, and then Copilot will actually generate some instructions for you, right? It's going to ask you some questions, and then it'll give you some output that you can start with in your agent instructions. Okay. So if we jump back into create an agent, I've got this written out. So you can say I've got what its purpose is. I've got the inputs that it's going to get. I've got the tone and style. Now I've got use the tone and style voice that's linked in the style guide. So I'm going to do that. And these are the instructions. So down here, I've got my knowledge. Okay. This is where I can add my knowledge. Now I want to add my tone of voice guidelines. So I'm going to browse to my SharePoint site, and I can navigate to my SharePoint site. And I'm going to say, there's my brand voice guide. So I'm going to give that as knowledge. All right. Scroll down. There's the knowledge. Okay. Now, structure and formatting. Let's do this and say new chat. Can you give me the structure of a formal exec summary? All right. So this is it here. Probably too formal. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this I'm going to create a template. So I'm going to go to my SharePoint site. I'm just going to create a new doc. Jump back into here. I'll go to my documents and I'm going to use, oh, it's moved. It's over here. I'm going to go new Word doc and I will paste that in here. That is my exec summary template. So now I'm going to go back to my agent and I'm going to add that as another knowledge source. Go back to my SharePoint site. I'll browse to my docs, go to my documents. There's that new template. It's been added as knowledge. I'm going to say structure and formatting, linked example called that. And now that's been ground, and you'll see the knowledge here. I've got the ability to add SharePoint sites, Teams chats, Outlook, and public-facing websites, right? So if I go to Teams, I can add files, sites, chats even. So if you've got group chats around certain topics or certain projects or certain things, then you can add the group chat as knowledge as well. And then this agent will have that. I can click create, and that's going to create that agent for me. Okay. Now, once this is done, I can go to my agent. That agent is now created. I can pop in, let's say I pop in an annual report. New draft and exec summary. It's publicly available, that Coles annual report, so don't worry, it's not confidential. But that is literally the Coles annual report. So I need to write an exec summary. So that's taken that annual report, use my tone of voice, and written that for me. Okay. So as simple as that, well, not as simple as that, you would need to refine this, but creating an agent is literally like that. We need instructions. And if you can communicate well, explain exactly what you're trying to do in an agent, step by step, what you want it to do, then you can really be a good agent creator. Okay. It can be even as simple as this. This one here has got like 2 instructions. This agent, this spreadsheet that I've got as knowledge here has got 13,000 rows in it. So it's a big data set. So it can be as simple as that, because this is a specific task. I just want to analyze this data. Keeps its knowledge. I can then come back to this data. I can interact. I can manipulate. I can do whatever it is that I need to do to get all the information. I can literally just talk to that file. Okay. Okay. That's a lot of information.
Very
I could do this
helpful, though.
probably for another 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hours. I will leave it there, and if there are questions, I'm more than happy to field. I'm scared to open up the chat or the Q&A.
Don't look. I'll feed them to you. We've covered off on a couple throughout your demonstration, so that's the good news.
Cool.
But we just have a couple. Obviously showing that everyone's really engaged, and I think you've demonstrated beautifully how to create agents, taken me places where I haven't been before, and that's so helpful to me as well. So kudos to you. And let me go through a couple of them. Some of them will be quick ones. There's some about AI generally. So one from Lasith was how safe is it when accessing company and commercial confidential company and commercial data on Copilot? And this one comes up often, so I'm sure you've got a ready answer for that.
Yep. So regardless of whether you've got a license or you don't, anything in Copilot is covered by this little green shield up here, which is called Enterprise Data Protection. So what that means is at a high level, and you can read about that if you want to. Now, what that means is that anything that you talk about, anything that happens inside a Copilot chat or in agents, stays within your tenant. Okay. And any data, any information, anything that you give to Copilot isn't used to train the model, the underlying LLM, which is a bit different to, let's say you've got a ChatGPT that's non-business or non-commercial or non-enterprise. Then if you do that to a ChatGPT or Claude, then that can potentially be used to train the underlying large language model. I'll leave the explanation as that. But you are covered by enterprise data protection.
Yeah, great.
Which is compliant and safe.
Good. I'm just typing back to this Simon in the chat too, because I think you've just covered off on Simon's question too, which was if using Claude as a model as opposed to Copilot or ChatGPT.
Yeah. Now, I did point out that you can, in Copilot Studio, that you can change the model to Claude. Now, this needs to be enabled first at your tenant level. So admins need to enable this to use these models. Now, when you're using these models in a Copilot Studio agent, this does send the data to Anthropic. So just be aware of that. The OpenAI models don't.
Yeah, right. I think that's covering off on Simon's question as well. We've got another one coming in from, let's see. So Michael's just asking, great information, it's a lot to take in. What are the best resources to help build their knowledge of agents outside of this forum? Do you have any great resources that you'd like to share?
Well, yeah, I do. It's me. But there's the Copilot Adoption Center as well. That's got some pretty good resources on it. I would probably start there.
Copilot Adoption Center. Okay. Beautiful. I'm scrolling down because I know that we've answered some. Thank you for the thumbs up. That lets us know we're going well. And one from Andrew from earlier. So he asked this at the beginning and I've held it over. So I think it's still current though. Can an agent create output from... Yep. Maybe I asked this one. Can an agent create output from multiple sources, including SharePoint and non-micro? We've done that one. No, this is the one that I want to ask. Sorry. So he asked, if you suck at managing your planner, for example, and want a personal assistant to remind you to set, check off and update tasks, is that a Copilot agent type of activity as well? Can you get it to be like a bit of an EA for you?
You can. So this little thing, and it's brand new, right, is there's an agent down here that is called Workflows. Now, this agent here, you can say, can you... Okay, so let's go every day at 9 a.m. Can you get all my tasks from Planner? Tell me what is due today. What else do we want to know? We want to know also, please get any unread emails that look important and tell me which ones I need to respond to. Now, you'd be more detailed and everything like that, but you get the idea. What this is going to do is automatically creates a workflow that will run at 9 a.m. every single day, get all my tasks, get all my emails, and just give me a little bit of a wrap up or a roundup of what we need to do. So that is one agent that you could just use literally out of the box for you. But you could also do that in chat, to be honest. So you could try and get that in craft a prompt in chat. But if you're doing it recurringly, let's say it's Monday morning or whatever it is, so you can see here, this has actually built this out for me. It's getting my planner tasks. It's getting my unread important emails. It's written an AI prompt for me. And I can save that. That's literally now, I'm going to need to, I don't want that every morning at 9 a.m. So I'll have to go back and delete it. But that's just now created that for me.
Yeah, great. I think my Copilot's starting to talk to me in that same sort of way now. It's welcoming me to my day and asking me if I want it to help me get across my meeting. So he must know how busy I am. I've got a question from Andrew again. This one, he's just wanting to know if you can get a trial license for Copilot Studio rather than investing in
Yes,
the
you can.
paid version. Okay,
Yep.
right. There we go. So Andrew, feel free to reach out to your IT partner. I'm not sure if we are your IT partner, but if we are, we can definitely help. There's some more questions coming in. Let's see, just now, is there a simple agent? This is from Brent. Is there a simple agent or tool available now that can help sort emails in your inbox? So whether directly to or CC'd in terms of priority and or sort to specific folders?
Sort the specific folders, no, but there is prioritize inbox. That is a feature of Outlook. And let me just ask Copilot. There is, you can set this up in Outlook. I'm not going to open up my email, but there is a prioritize. I just need to get the link for you. In Outlook, you get me the new prioritize inbox feature. So this is it here. So you can enable it in Outlook, and you can, and what Copilot will do is review high, normal, and low priority, and then it can flag them and do lots of different things and prioritize your email, but not moving emails.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, look, we're at time.